So welcome to tonight. That was quite a session last week, quite an interesting speaker last week, and we had 100 on, including our other two districts. So we'll come back to the other two districts again in about a month's time or so, but we'll let people know when that is. A couple of things. I'm going to just let a couple of announcements first. I think when Beirut was devastated and we put out an appeal for the district to help and for all clubs to come back through the district. Alistair, do you want to give us a very quick update on that, Alistair, Rob?
Yeah, thanks very much, Ken. I've been pretty blown away by the response to this. We put out a request for help 2 or 3 weeks ago, and within 7 days we were able to send $5,000 out to Beirut. Subsequent to that, the donations have continued to come in, and today, I don't know if it's happened today because of it being a bank holiday, but maybe today, maybe tomorrow, we'll be sending another $10,000 to Beirut. And in addition to that, I think at the very minimum there's another $6,000 in uncleared checks, $6,000 in uncleared checks, which have still to go. So, you know, in total, not without having everyone's donations in yet, we've been able to send $21,000 out to Beirut. The great thing about that is, you know, the first lot of that money, the first $5,000, is already on the ground in Beirut and making a difference out there. The power of Rotary, as I've said in the past, but we've been able to get it straight out to Beirut Cedars Rotary Club, and they're now using it in some of the projects to help the people whose lives have been affected out there. So a huge thank you to every club that has donated, and many individuals as well who've put cash towards it. Thanks very much.
Alistair, thanks very much for that. And it's a great effort, I think, in Beirut itself, with multiple clubs out there. And what they seem to be doing is each of them's taking a different sector to support. And Beirut Cedars particularly is looking at some of the food parcels and also education and rehabilitating some of the schools. So excellent things. And of course, none of this could be done without Rotary and us being sustainable in the long term. And I was speaking to Alistair earlier on, and he just reminded me, 5 years ago, we didn't have any of our new clubs. 5 years ago, we didn't have an E-club. I think tomorrow, I believe Buckhaven and Methil celebrate their 4th birthday. So congratulations to them. 5 years ago, there was one club, I believe, in the district who didn't have a meal and who didn't meet every week. So what are we going to look like in 5 years' time if that's what we can achieve, or what we have achieved in the 5 years? And putting on my membership hat for a second, we are currently sitting at 2,500-ish round numbers. 5 years ago, we're probably sitting at 2,750. So we're down 250. But without the new clubs are another 100 people that we've actually brought in. So realistically, we're actually down 350. And it's probably the new clubs that are actually helping us keep Rotary sustainable in 1010 going forward. So what are we going to do about it? And I thought it'd be useful just to look at 5 years out. And I got a video clip from somebody that just talks about planning and talks about what they can do and what we should do perhaps tomorrow. So this is a video clip. And when you see this, we're going to use the breakout rooms, but I want you to think, if we use this kind of thought process, what could Rotary look like in 5 years in this district? What could change? And people do move on, so what we're going to do to make it sustainable. And also, having seen it, what are you going to do tomorrow to take our first step into getting that 5-year plan? So let me just share this video clip. It's about 2-3 minutes. It's take control of your life. It's take care of.
Wake up. It's a new day. It's a new week. And if you choose it, it's a new life. You get to decide right now who you want to be. You get to choose in this moment how you want to show up in the world.
Believe that you're worth it. Believe that you can. Believe that you're capable of whatever you set your mind to.
Ask yourself, how would the best version of me live out this day?
Waking up an hour earlier and using that time for yourself, using that time to work on your goal, you have time. You're just spending it doing something else. Success is about choosing between what you want now and what you want most.
Imagine it in detail. See yourself eating the way the best version of you would, staying hydrated.
If you are not taking care of your physical body, there is a 0% chance that you're going to become the version of yourself you want to be.
Working out, dressing, speaking to others, looking for blessings throughout the day, the way the best version of yourself would do it.
You are creating your reality right now.
You are the only person who is in charge of what happens next.
You've got to stop procrastinating. You've got to embrace right now, and you've got to fire yourself up to propel yourself to the future.
You need to own what you do. You need to own what you do.
See yourself in detail and map out the day in your mind.
If you cannot be the person you want to be right now, in this second, right now, if you can't make the decision right now, in this moment, you don't have a why that's strong enough. And if you don't have a why that's strong enough right now, you won't have a why that's strong enough on Monday.
If you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. Don't leave today's version of you to a random chance. Choose who you want to be. Choose how you want to be. Then live today accordingly.
Come back in. It's quite interesting. It's the why. And I think we've heard why, where we've got likes of Eduardo helping National Trust for Scotland with what he's been doing. When we hear what we can do to help people in disaster zones like Beirut, and at the drop of a hat. So what are we going to do to be sustainable in 5 years' time? What are we going to look like? What should Rotary look like in 5 years' time? We've got the reason why, but what are we going to do about it? So there's two questions. What should Rotary look like in 5 years? And what are you going to do tomorrow? And I'm going to let you go into breakout rooms, and I'm just going to make sure.
What about the time commitment? I know we did meet weekly. Do we feel that for a lot of young people that's just too much? Do we meet too much and do too little, as Roy was saying, in terms of activities?
I think we should have more flexibility. I think the club, if that's the kind of the moniker for what we are, should offer lots of opportunities. We can go on activities as a club and do the friendship kind of activities. We can have speakers who come along, but all of that really ought to be optional, so that it's core Rotary that people are encouraged perhaps to take part in. But all these extra activities should be so exciting people want to do them, not because they're told to do them. So yes, meet less frequently, but meet when we need to do things, when we need to discuss. We have new technology, we have WhatsApp, we have email, things that didn't exist really 10 years ago. So we can use those to stay in touch all the time in between meetings.
Yeah. Yes, I've been wooing young women in their 50s who are just leaving the Ladies' Circle in Calendar, and they are unanimous in the view that they don't want to come and hear a speaker in the evening. They've got children, they've got homework, they've got other things to do. Make it a meeting that's worth your while, make it short, do away with the meal, and only meet when there is something that needs to be discussed. Plus fellowship meetings, obviously, plus social activities. But they're absolutely adamant they don't want to be out at 6:30 in the evening listening to a speaker. It's just not compatible with their lifestyles.
Now, one of the things you can do with speakers, and we've started to experiment with it in Kirriemuir, is we've been recording our speakers and putting them on our YouTube channel, so that if members wish to, or actually anybody, from the public can go back and listen to some of the speakers if they wish to. But it's a part of trying to make it optional. So we've been experimenting, and I'm sure, like other clubs, we are going through those pains of having some members who wish to be traditional, and we've got new members or newer members who wish to be contemporary. And that's a dichotomy, and trying to keep both sides happy is kind of been a bit of a recipe for friction over the years.
Yeah.
And perhaps we shouldn't be trying to fix old clubs. Maybe we should find a path where those members in a club who wish to be progressive, wish to be contemporary, can perhaps start a satellite club that's more than one club. So it's members across different Rotary groups.
I would agree. I would say that as a club, we're not exactly an old club, but we've got members who have already indicated that they wouldn't likely to come back to what their meetings were in the past with a meal and speakers. The Zoom format actually tends to, we've had really good attendances, although we've only been meeting fortnightly. Attendance has been very good, and I actually see Zoom as an opportunity to attract new members, because there is no onus then for them to actually turn up at Kevo House Hotel, pay for a meal, and maybe listen to a speaker they don't want to listen to. So I think going forward, we should probably be more concerned about what we're actually going to get our teeth into rather than the food, and try and work out and talk more about the projects that we can do for the local community and for the international community.
Very, very good. How would you get involved with that? What would you do to start that off?
Are you asking me, James?
I'm asking everyone. If we believe the fact that partnering is going to be one way of moving forward, getting new members in the Rotary, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to set that up?
I'll leave anybody else. We have to believe that we've got to go to these other clubs. Not necessarily physically. We've got to know what they are doing, what they want, and so on, and find a ways where we can help to answer some of their problems, their difficulties. Work with them in that way.
All right.
Yes. I think the other element to this is possibly in what my club, along with Ellen, are trying to do, is to looking at some way to set up Rotaract, and that once again gives you more communication with other people in your community. And I think there's a lot of people don't understand what Rotary is. The number of people that I end up chatting to lots of different people, and the number of folk who think that, look, it's all just old men. And they don't understand what Rotary does and the impact and the power and who's actually involved in it all.
Yes, well, you know, we at Kintoa, Kemnay and District have looked at another approach as well, because the youngsters are a key factor in how we move forward in gaining members in Rotary. So we are now in league with the local groups, in particular the schools, and because they offer the opportunity of the parents. You know, parents follow their kids. They like to ensure that their progress and that they're keeping up to date with things. They're the ones to tap into, and they come in all ages, because you also can grab the grandmothers. Yeah. So I haven't heard too much from Neil or Douglas.
I was muted for a while, unfortunately. I met with the Community Council chairman last week, and the chair of the Heartland Radio and the Pavilion user groups at Pidlockery. We've come up with a plan to get a project going to commemorate 2020 and how it's affected everybody with a mural down about the station. But it's just trying to get that together. But interestingly, at that meeting, they were all a bit bemused by the Rotary's image, in that we don't have much of a publicity campaign, either locally or nationally. For example, last week, End Polio, nothing about the Rotary was mentioned on the radio or on the TV. There was somebody with a shirt on that had a Rotary logo, But the Rotary didn't seem to embrace that or publicise it or really get in your face with it. And I think Rotary needs to step up its image and its publicity about what it actually does.
Yes, I was extremely shocked to hear about how the Wild Africa campaign eradicated polio. And throughout the whole process of BBC, I saw nothing to indicate Rotary. I was shocked, actually. After,
I agree.
In 1985, we kicked this off. Now, that's a lot of years. But one of the other things, so what about your local radio stations? Do you think they can play an important part?
Three members of the Rotary are presenters on there, so we've got a wee kickstart there. So hopefully that will help us.
And publicising the fact that we're in league with the local groups will be a great help as well, you know.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but there's something about these teachers when you get involved with the local groups. You can't get away from them, you know what I mean?
There's also, I think it was Aberdeen St Fittick, they've got an hour on the local radio, on Shmoo Radio.
Hi guys, it is Friday. I guess you're receiving this, it's Friday. The end of our 90-day challenge, which is so exciting. Yeah, I think personally I'm super, I would say overwhelmed, because that sounds like
So anyway, that's maybe not made any sense, but I've said something.
Thank you.
And you're doing a good job, Kath.
Yeah, right. Anybody else?
Kath, humour is the important thing in Rotary. Because
yeah.
Bill said he was in the Caribbean. Does that count the Caribbean as well?
Thank you, Ray. And David or Gordon, do you want to say anything?
Well, I've got to say something, I think, Kath. I think that we have to bear in mind that Rotary was born out of its time. And its time was when it was founded. And times are a-changing. I think Rotary's got to have an eye on change, but I think society will change it. Something else will evolve, as they have in all sorts of other charities. For example, the Poppy Appeal, all sorts of aged people going around shaking cans and collecting. Then all of a sudden along comes Help for Heroes, captures the imagination, does it all on the net, gets other people to do it, and hoovers up 5 times whatever the Poppy Appeal was going. And look at Red Nose Day and organizations like that. They just didn't exist. They exist because of technology and so on and so forth. And I really feel that slackening our rules, as we have done, is not necessarily going to be productive in the long term. Random thought.
Thank you, David. Gordon from Arbroath.
Yes, I would like to say that, getting back to membership and that, we meet in the evening in Arbroath, but if any person doesn't want to come to the main meeting to have a meal, he or she can come in about 7 o'clock. So that gives it an alternative, you see? So there's no excuse for somebody can't able to come for a meal, you see? And also we have the Rotaract, quite an active Rotaract, and there's also a few young Rotaract folk come along as well. So that's good. Arbroath is doing fairly well, incidentally, as far as membership and that is concerned.
I knew that, Gordon. You had about, was it 7 new members last year?
I think it was in about that range, aye.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
It's maybe the Smokies that's bringing in, you see.
I think it is.
The Red Lichty football team, you know, there's Dick Campbell, you know. That's the sort of folk you want to get involved as well, you know, to come and talk to you. And they're enthusiasts. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we're getting a range of views and some experience of making some changes. We're saying that perhaps 5 years ahead is quite a long way to think. especially with COVID on the go just now.
Right, I've listened with interest to what everybody's had to say.
Yeah.
The one word I would be the word I would be using for in 5 years' time would be that Rotary, I think, will be different. And I think what this virus situation has given us and this lockdown is the fact we're meeting at the moment on Zoom. Our club is not getting together at the moment for meals. In fact, we were led to believe that district has discouraged us from doing that on the basis that Rotary insurance would not cover you if you were meeting and something happened as a result of a Rotary meeting. So we're continuing with Zoom only meetings, and going forward, I think that's an opportunity. I mean, here we are speaking around the district, and I noticed that I should explain I'm from Perth Canoe, and I noticed that my heading has changed from the one I had up previously. So I think Rotary will be different in 5 years' time. I think we should use the opportunity that having Zoom meetings has presented. We have already had one meeting with a club in Perth, Australia, and it opens up so many other opportunities. It also means that people who don't want to join Rotary with a meal out once a week can do so. So I think there is a real opportunity to have more Zoom meetings, both at a club level and as we're doing here at a district level.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Ken. That's from Perth Canoe. Right. Now, Ken McLennan's here. Have we got 5 minutes left, Ken? Wait, what's it saying up there, Gary? That's good anything. Something came up. I was seeing things. It's quite normal. Right. Any other comments? I think we have only got about 5 minutes. It's 7 o'clock. Ken McLennan, have we got finished at 5 past? Is that what you said?
That would be great.
Okay, that's great. We've got 5 minutes, folks. You've actually, this has been actually brilliant. Thanks very much. Very positive, I have to say, despite what could be doom and gloom. Right, what would you do tomorrow? Just a quick round the houses tomorrow. Anything different from what you've done today?
What would we do tomorrow?
I think our club's done it. That's the problem.
Right, done it.
It's now waiting on the repercussions of it, because change is always an interesting thing. We had a fantastic vote in favour of change, which surpassed my expectations. But it may be when they've had time to think about it. But we're looking forward to the challenges and the benefits of change. And as was already said by the other Ken, you know, the virus has been a hidden blessing from this point of view. It has forced us to look at change. And by looking at it and looking at what we've done in the past, we realise that we must change. We must satisfy the expectations and the ambitions of a younger market so that clubs will still be here, be vibrant, be relevant within their communities, and have fun helping others in the future.
Superb. Alistair, Alistair from Dice, were you going to say something?
No, I've been listening and I'm thinking about the Dice Club and what I would do tomorrow. And if I could, it would certainly be some members, but certainly introduce, if I could, another half dozen younger members in the 50-ish age group, because I think our average age is 73, 74. So, and over the last few months, we haven't actually been meeting as a club, unfortunately, and we've only just recently had our first 2 or 3 Zoom meetings. So we're very much in the embryonic stage of Zoom at this point.
You can trust an accountant trying to make money.
Well, just popping round the different rooms, I'm pretty amazed at the positivity. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to ask for one thought from each room on the where could we be, and also what would you do tomorrow? And how will I go around this? Let me go for Alistair, Rob. Who's in your room? Who's going to speak for your room, Alistair?
Yeah, I'll do it, Ken. I've got some notes here. Do you just want one thing? Because that's going to be pretty difficult. Some great comments from our room. But what should Rotary look like in 5 years? I think probably the best word that came out was vibrant.
Say again?
Vibrant.
Good.
The other things that came out: flexible, diverse, informal, hybrid, and no meals. And as far as what would you want to do tomorrow, make use of technology, be more in contact with the community, re-engage former members with a new Rotary product, and engage with other organisations. But all in all, a very good session.
I am blown away by that. So thank you and well done. Where am I going to go next? Gary. Who's going to speak for your room?
I'm going to speak. Right, Ken, we too had a brilliant get together. Lots of positive things came out of it, which was really good. No moanings and groanings. So thanks to everyone for that. If you want one thing for, you know, in 5 years' time, one thing that came out quite strongly was to participate in partnership with other groups in our communities, because they're the ones that we seek to serve. And rather than us waiting for them to come to us, because historically for a lot of clubs, you know, folk will come to Rotary for, if they're looking for money or an extra pair of hands. So take the initiative that the Rotarians go to them, like we've done that with, and it was only because of the National Trust with Haddo that we made the offer to them rather than us come to them. So working in partnership, and let's sort of take the initiative ourselves rather than just sitting and waiting. And tomorrow, without a doubt, more IT Zoom meetings, which has really opened the door to so many things. Facebook, a wonderful story about Facebook, the way that rattled on from Montrose, the good things that's come out of that. So I think amongst a lot of things, these were kind of key things that our group came up with, amongst others. And thank you to all of you for asking lots of engaging conversations and questions too. So thank you for that.
Brilliant. I'm blown away. Zoom, that's the first I've heard Zoom, more of Zoom and, or whatever, but more of getting us together anyway, and certainly the community, absolutely. Because if we don't know what the community wants, we're kind of out of place. Kath, who's speaking for your room?
Thank you very much. I think, like the others, we had a very good conversation and varying views. I'm conscious of the time, so I'll keep this short. I think Rotary in the future, variable, people with different ideas of how it might look, that we're looking at evolution, not revolution, that clubs had already made some changes. And I hate to say the word COVID, but you know, that has had an impact, obviously, on us. So that's what we're saying. And we had a chat about something else rather than what we were going to do tomorrow, to be quite honest. We talked about just the way that we might change. So we haven't quite answered your question, but I had PDG Bill Wood in the group, and he follows me round in groups, so I think he's checking on me. So he'll report to you later, Ken. Thank you.
I'll sort that. I'll put him in charge next week.
Please.
That's easy fixed.
And thanks to everybody in the group.
Remember to put your hand up or put comments in the chat box, because we will have time. We've still got 20 minutes. Hilary, who's going to speak for your group?
Like the other groups, I took the notes. So I'll start by saying thank you very much to the group for the discussion, because I think it was all mostly very positive. So what should we look like? Well, we would like it to be more, our clubs to be more representative of the community, because we think that perhaps many clubs aren't representative of the community at the moment. And what would we think about for tomorrow? Well, we would like to get involved with the volunteers that have come out of the woodwork during COVID and ask them about what the needs of the community are and seeing how well we could engage with them. Maybe they would join, maybe they wouldn't, but we should be still involved with them.
Thanks very much. And what they're going to do tomorrow?
That was it.
That was it. Just go straight after them. Excellent.
Go after our volunteers.
Perfect. Jim Hatter, who's speaking for your group?
Well, I've got an amiable speaker here, Anne Foster. Go, Anne.
Right, thank you very much. That was very good. The breakout room sessions are actually a good way of being able to discuss things like this. It works well. What will we look like? Well, I think having hybrid meetings is very similar stuff to what everybody else is saying, and great partnership working with lots of groups in the community, and just a far more flexible way of doing things. And as far as tomorrow's concerned, we need to get strong links with our schools, with the teachers, the parents, and the young people, because they are definitely, as I know Alistair Risk will agree with me, the way forward for just letting everybody understand what Rotary is about. Because people I speak to in the community, the number of folk who are still saying, oh, it's for old men, oh, we just meet over dinner and don't understand exactly what Rotary actually does and their impact in the world. So thank you very much to everybody. Brilliant.
Great. Absolutely superb. Thanks very much, Anne, and thanks for doing that feedback. And certainly not least, room 6. Who's feeding back in your room, Alistair?
I took the note, and not surprisingly, we had actually much of what's been said just copies into what we were saying. The discussions were in 5 years' time, clubs will be more blended. We're not likely to have the formality in the meals and the meetings face to face. It'll be more a case of meeting to plan things forward, help the community, and to join with other local organisations, see what we can do as a more on a service side, but that you know, the costs, the time commitment, the efforts involved, weekly meetings will change. It'll become much more blended than it is at present. What we do tomorrow, the consensus is we need to make Rotary more fun, and we need to get really in pleasure and enjoyment out of serving the community and mucking in together to help everybody. Is that a fair comment from my group?
Nobody's going to argue with you by the sound of it. So who's got more comment on this? Who wants to feed in? Put up your hand, click on the participants box and raise your hand, and we'll have a look at that and we'll see it. And Alistair, Rob will just flick across the screens perhaps. And just while you're thinking about it, and maybe be a little bit provocative, our E-Club has had probably one of the biggest gains in net membership this year. Our E-Club of Aviation. Donald Hitchin.
Yeah, sorry about that. One of our secretary, club secretary, is actually a member of the academy staff. So we have really excellent links with our local secondary school. The feedback we're getting at the moment is that it's a little bit premature to be pushing into schools beyond where we already have. I mean, we already do a lot of interaction with the academies, but at this moment, they're just feeling their way with the virus. So tread gently, don't expect too much at this point. They're just trying to walk before they can run at this point. So an awareness on that. And we have been using Friends of Rotary. We've got an amazing feedback working within the different charity groups, and just by publicizing that on Facebook, we're getting an enormous interest at the moment to become Friends of Rotary. So that's something else to be aware of. How it will work out, we don't know. It's very early doors, but we've had 14 inquiries in the last week. So
wow, excellent. And just before I take Alicia, one of the rooms I was in, I was listening to, and somebody was talking about the disruptive elements of things like Help the Heroes has disrupted the poppy appeal, for example. What's Red Nose Day disrupted in the type of things that Rotary perhaps do? So before Rotary gets disrupted, what are we going to do to make sure that we stay ahead of the game, I guess, is part of the question. And that was really why I posed that question. Alicia.
I just want to say a couple of things about the getting involved in the community. Very early on, I got involved with the Alford Community Food Bank, and shout went out for more volunteers, and gradually Rotary have now got a big presence in there. And I think other folk in the community are seeing us as being humans and normal people, rather than the perception of old man is just meeting for a meal, because they're seeing us as people who are willing to get involved and get stuck in. And 3 weeks' time, we're getting involved with a local community litter picking group. And again, we're going just as normal people, but it's part of Rotary with our Rotary hats on, but getting involved in their event. So it's not our event, it's not us banging the drum, but again, they'll see us as being folk that are willing to get involved in the community and have a presence, because we're quite guilty of maybe just trying to fundraise, giving donations to other people, but people not even realising half the time that there's Rotary in the community. So you know, it's just important to be seen out there, not necessarily with the in the name of Rotary, but being affiliated to it. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, good, excellent. And I'm seeing a couple of things in the chat about being visible and getting our public image right. And I was hearing in I think it was Jim Hatter's group about the excellent result on polio being eliminated in Africa. What a fabulous achievement. But how much publicity did Rotary get when we've been on that case for 35 years? Now, there was things in the Times, because I saw it there, and I saw Bill Gates mentioning Rotary, and I saw the World Health Organization mentioning Rotary. Did the BBC mention? I can't remember, I didn't see it. So what are we doing about that? Are we publicising that locally? Are you publicising that in your community? And part of my own club, just to make ourselves visible and say, we're still here, on the back of Beirut, we had a collection at Tesco, suitably isolated with a piece of their car park for the shelter box. And people walking past on a Saturday donated £1,700.
Wow.
And for sure, we're making that publicity and making that good. Some people have put in the chat box about we should have a national campaign. And I think we've talked about that before, that it would be fabulous if we did, but Rotarians reject it before because it's a straight cost onto our fees, onto our subscriptions. It's really down to us ourselves to do that. Who else wants to raise something in the chat box?
Ken, can I just, I think we need to share a kind of good news story here, and it came from Charlotte at Kintor and Kemney. They've managed to recruit 5 new members, but the brilliant thing was 2 of them are actually former members that have rejoined again because they feel the product at that club is now different from what it was, that they're able to come back now without the obligation to have a meal and that sort of thing. So I think that's something that came out of our group session, was to re-engage former members, and that's certainly what clubs are going to have to do if they want to do that. But as we've spoken about so many times, we have no problem in recruiting in this district. It's holding on to them. Yeah. And if we can get some former Rotarians back, or not lose them in the first place by getting the product that we offer them right, then something worth looking at, I think.
Yeah, and I'm going to be provocative here, because we have an e-club, and a lot of people talked about doing Rotary different and meeting on Zoom. What if the district had another e-club for people that wanted to do the Rotary differently. Somebody mentioned don't fix old clubs in one of the chat rooms I was listening to, but start new groups, perhaps satellite. What if we started an e-club? What if we started another club in your area? Where would you put a new club in your area? Now, I know where I would put them because I've done the statistics, but statistics are, as some people say, is lies, damn lies and statistics, but there's options for us. So where would you put it? Where would you put a new club? Who wants to put their hand up? Who wants to go above the parapet? Or what about an e-club in district and getting a hold of all these volunteers? And that's something that's being supported by Rotary in Britain and Ireland to help and do something different. And that's not going to take away from existing clubs, but really it's a complement and perhaps part of the disruptive opportunities for us. What do people think? Make them think. So Roy from Cooper.
In our group chat, I've heard it quite a few times. You've got a split in the club. You've got some members who is still just a dining club, or mainly a dining club, and other people who are more active. So someone in the group, I think it was Don, said, how about clubs, the active members of a group of clubs do things, which is more towards an e-club anyway. Yeah. Combine the active members and still do the meals, perhaps not as often. You don't lose the dining club members.
Sure. And I guess that's what an e-club could do, and it could be somewhere around Cooper or the communities around you, for example. Certainly an opportunity there, I think.
Apologies for that. A number of things that have been said, I'm very much in favour with, but one of the things that was just said by Ken, who was quoting somebody else, was don't try and repair existing clubs. And I think that's a mistake. I think if you actually get, as long as a club is not totally disintegrated, if you get into a club, as we have in our club, and sell the changes that need to be made, listen to the potential members and make the changes, that everybody will come with you. I was staggered when we changed, we voted 2 weeks ago, as you know, to do away with meals, to meet on 2 different nights a week, to meet in all sorts of different ways, and to have Zoom as part of every meeting available, because we cover an area the size of Belgium. So it's not always easy for members to get to us. And there were only 2 people out the whole club voted against change. Everybody else was positive. And I believe that many clubs are in the same position. And I've been fortunate. If you'd asked me 8 weeks ago what Zoom was, I wouldn't have known. And now I'm speaking to 4 or 5 clubs a week. This morning I got a booking to speak to clubs in Croydon and outside London about this very subject, about change, about adopting youth, about changing your public relations image, and making sure you're relevant and vibrant for the future. So there's clubs there for our grandchildren, not just for our children and ourselves. We need to be less selfish and more in favour of change.
I think that really just sums up everything I've heard today. Alistair, thank you very much for that. We should take the opportunity. And I'm seeing things in the chat room saying it's worth exploring an e-club, a cluster of clubs where there are active Rotarians who want something different. Let the current club do it if they don't want to change. Alistair's club is a great example of they wanted the change and it was sold properly. And if you want to talk about how to really manage change, we're really happy to help on that. We do have expertise in the district and we've just had a great example there. I'm conscious of time. Our hour has flown by. It's been extremely positive, and thank you for that. Thanks to everybody for the contribution, and not least for the scribes for pulling it forward. This is one of the great meetings we've had. It has been recorded, and it will go on YouTube in the next couple of days. And we've also recorded a few others, and there'll be a link in the next 1010 vision, just taking everybody to where all the recordings are. So thank you all very much indeed. It's great seeing you all. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week. And you don't need a safe journey home. You're all home already. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Good night, Ken.
Thank you.
Night all.
Night.
Bye.